Alright, what's up nerds? Here's the Monster King with a little tier list video about the cores and Lone Star. Fun little game. I like a roguelite, how to say, run-based game, a bit of random, not quite deck builder, it's more build builder. Anyways, where you put these little spaceship parts that help you shoot lasers against other spaceship. So what you get is random, of course, but it's fun to talk about what's good and what's not. So they have three rarities. White is common, rare is blue, and legendary is orange. We'll do the first half of them, which is the shielder units. The other half is the spacewalker units. So for now, we'll stay with the shielders. Let's go in right in basic core. Basic core, you start with two of them. The only good thing about them is that you're guaranteed to have two. So for the few things that like that, it's good. Otherwise, literally everything in the game is better. I have the in-game encyclopedia to look at the stats, especially of the upgraded versions. All it does, a second white slot, it's still a weaker pair core. Even with support of things that like starting units, except for the Kunga treasure, which makes this something you want to hold on. Everything else, this is kind of junk that you'll get rid of. Pair core, it's almost in the same boat. I think if you ever get a situation where you want to copy this, it's not necessarily your worst choice. You might have some, anything I put below this in my mind, you might want to copy pair core more. It's still a bit of a hard sell, but upgraded does give it more power, so it goes from 2 to 4. That's not too bad. Next one, increasing core. So increasing core, I think I've been very hard on it. I've put it in D. I want to see this work. I want to be proven wrong, because the more I look at it, the more I think on paper it might be a lot better than I think. You put in a number, and if the next number you put in, and that includes to the next turn, the next number you put in is of a higher value, you'll gain that number in strength. So potentially it has a very high ceiling, right? If you put 8 and then 9, then you get an extra 9's worth of value. And even early on, you put 4 and 5, then you're automatically at 14. This is a lot more than most. So putting it in niche for now, because I think it is hard to get started. The upgraded version does make it 2 white slots, but no strength bonus. I don't know. Prove me wrong about this one, but personally, I haven't made it. I haven't been able to make it work very much. White core, actual name pure white core. I think I made a little typo there. Doesn't matter. When loading white energy, gains 2 strength. Upgraded, gains an extra slot. I think this is a good, decent pickup for free damage for those white energies you're not quite sure where to place. Well, this gets a little bonus damage. Of course, works really well with multi-cleaver that multiplies white energies. Also with Nexus, Energy Nexus, that places free white in your different slots. It's fine, right? You're probably gonna change this to something better later. Microcrystal core, I think over here, Microcrystal core I think is a very good common pickup. It gains in strength the amount of energy you put in if it's under 3, upgraded if it's under 4, so I think it's a really good upgrade as well. 2 slots, one of them blue is not too bad. Getting double 3 or double on 4, can easily make this one's power skyrocket, so definitely recommend this one. Single star at the very bottom of niche combo use. I think if you end up duplicating this, it can be very strong. Single star gains double strength if it's the only kind of attack unit that has loaded energy. This also includes if none of your attack units have loaded energy, so if you're going empty magazine, placeholder gas, that kind of stuff. I could, in theory, see it be really good if it's one of your few units at the start. It's also good when you paralyze, right? You just want to spend 1 energy to keep a lot for the next one if you're not too well prepared against the first boss. So doubling a 5, that's not too bad. Next up, Propulsion Core. Propulsion Core, I have trouble making this one work. It's hard to depend on movement. I mean, you're going to do it against the bosses. I don't think this is terrible, but it's only one slot, and if you don't do any movement, it doesn't do anything. But 5 strength is a big number, becomes 7 if upgraded, not too bad of an upgrade. Still, unless you're the pilot Mochi that gets to move twice per turn, I still feel like this is pretty limited. Next up, Data Detector. I do like Data Detector. I think it's a very, very good early pickup. It gains power progressively for each of the 9 numbers you put in. So it has a potential of going up to 9. Of course, up to 9. Of course, early on, you're probably not going to give it more power than 4 or 5, maybe 6. That's still pretty decent. 6 power. Getting there. It has 2 slots, so we do appreciate that. Upgrade just makes the slot white. So the upgrade itself, not the most valuable, could be useful depending on the rest of your setup. Bronze Core, a very unique unit. We can't see it here, but it's the only one that upgrades more than twice. So starts with 2 power, gets 4 power later on. Bronze Core, I think, can be very good in a combo, but you need that combo, and that combo is called upgrading. So if you find a lot of good upgrade events, especially the one about pulling levers, if you get the one where you pay a lot of money to upgrade attack units or even damage yourself for it, especially if you have the little treasure to get infinite upgrades, but that getting there, you can't guarantee it. You can't guarantee you'll get that many upgrades, but if you do, you get more slots as well. I think it goes up to 4, maybe even 5 slots at its maximum upgrade, which is called Diamond Core, where it also gets, I think, 11 power. So of course it becomes a really, really strong unit, but getting there, that's a complicated story. Even without, it's still a decent pickup. I mean, it's a basic core with 2 power as soon as it gets upgraded, 4 power, 2 slots, pretty good. Boost Core, I think is garbage. Because it is an initiate with 2 cooldown, so any initiate synergies you would have with things like which one is it? The cheat button, you only get that every 2 turns on the first turn unless you have the preload code. Doesn't do much, and even if it does, what does it do? It's a bronze core. Even if you get the thing, it's only as good as the bronze core. And if you upgrade it, it's 3. So it's not even better than the silver core if it's upgraded. Only one slot. Skip this one. Gathering Core. It used to be a rare. That makes a lot of sense that they booted it down to common. When a nearby unit generates energy, it gains 1 strength. Upgraded any unit so you can position it a bit better. I think this is very niche combo use, and even then there's better versions of this that you'll get later that generate free energy for things you'd do anyway. Still, you always start with a general tap device, so this is 2 quote-unquote free power no matter what. It's better than nothing. It's better than, a boost score, in my opinion, but not much else. Leap Core. First overclock unit, whenever you put an energy that's at least this number or higher, you gain the effect. This one is the only one with 2. So overclock 2 gain 1 strength, overclock 4 gain 2 strength, which means it actually gains 3 strength if you overclock 4 it. Upgrade, this is the upgraded version. Normally it's 3 and 5, so that's the difference here. The overclock gets easier. I think this unit is amazing. It'll be good towards the end, even though 3 strength is not that much. You have 2 slots already to overclock it twice, so it gains some bonus strength. If you have anything that enjoys you having overclock, so satellite, of course, these are high rolls, satellite, shared frequency core, but anything that enjoys you overclocking, well, this is the master overclocker, right? And just early on, it's one of the better usages of a slot, of a weight, of a core, right? You get a pretty easy 3 bonus strength, no matter what, and sometimes in between, you put 1 5 in, 1 3 in. Well, that's still a pretty big upgrade. In my opinion, this is one of the best things in the game. high voltage amplification core. This one, I think, is pretty similar to the leap core. Gains 1 power when you overclock it at 4. All it does is change the slot to white when upgraded. It's fine. It's a bit slow, but at least you can get it started. You can get the 2 power on turn 1, whereas the boost core, you can't do shit, right? So this is one you can get pretty early doing stuff, and of course anything that enjoys more power will be good, except if it's turn 1 power, but that's fine. Next up, Beam Core, our first tri-power unit. So tri-power units have a separate gauge that goes up whenever you put an energy in them. Once that reaches 3, they get a special effect. So the thing about tri-power units is that if they don't have 3 slots, and you can see this one when it's upgraded, it doesn't get the 3rd slot, they can be a bit slower to get started, to get going. I don't think this one is terrible because it does have a big number associated, especially for early on, which is why I'm putting it in decent early pickup. It does have a big number associated with it, right? 7 strength, just like that. Well, quote unquote, just like that, but it's a big number. And upgraded, it's 9. Not the most worthwhile upgrade, but better than nothing. So as far as putting numbers into something, you know, especially if we compare to all the other common attack units, it's pretty good. Next up, Evolutionary Core. I think this is the best, especially early. One of the best tri-power units in the game. Definitely the best early tri-power unit. This gains 1 strength per energy you put in, but the effect goes up by 1 every time tri-power is triggered. So on turn 1 you get potentially 3 bonus strength, but on turn 2 that becomes 6. Assuming you're tri-powering it, which of course, yeah, it's a bit weaker if you don't have a lot of energy energy generation, energy distribution, but that's the case for all tri-power units. This one will give you strength even if you don't activate the tri-power, and that's why I think it's so valuable. You don't have to tri-power it all the time for it to do something, but the more you do it, the better it gets. And against these first bosses that can sometimes get really how to say, you can get into later turns more easier because your build's not necessarily up there yet. I think Evolutionary Core will carry you there. Impact Compressor. I have to retest this because I don't remember. I think they changed it to where only the damage from the showdown applies. I think this used to be this used to work with self-damage as well. So it is a pretty hefty nerf because that made it kind of a god with Shield Igniter and to a lesser degree, or is it the Armor Smelter? Armor Smelter. Yeah, so the thing about this is you need to get hurt for it to activate, but it will do the damage, a damage number equal to what you took for each energy you put in. So if you get damaged by 10, then you can get 20 bonus strength unupgraded, 30 upgraded, and so on if you find things to add slots. It's a risky way to play, especially if you're final bossing against... what's it called? Lampe Rouge, the one that gains bonus effects if it wins the lanes. But still, I can see it work pretty well, and if you're willing to take that little extra damage, it'll do a lot for you. General Tab Device. So General Tab Device, you're forced to have one, right? You always start with it. It's a very good unit. It bumps the number up by 1. So of course it synergizes immediately with Paracore, just giving you an idea of how the game works. The thing is, on its own, and in the concept of keeping it till the end, General Tab Device goes here. If you ask me, do you copy this unit? I'm like in between D and F, right? You don't need 2 General Tab Devices. I think 1 is more than enough. Still, because how much we love this thing, we'll put it here because it deserves its place here. Swap Device. Swap Device, I think, is one of the weaker energy generation things. It's basically a reroll button. It still can synergize with certain things. that like it when you generate more energy, but there aren't that many here, and some of them are dependent on color, like rubbing core and number, right? And because you don't know what's going to come out of swap device, I think personally this one, I don't have a great feeling for it, but it's better than not having it, and it's definitely a place to dump your ones and your twos if you don't have anything that likes those numbers. Extraction device. Nerds have yelled at me online about placing this solo. I think I maintain my idea. You put in an energy with a smaller number comes out, as well as a blue 1 point energy or a orange 1 point energy. The slot is always blue, so you need something high enough there. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few things that give you more net energy in your hand, but because the number isn't very good, except at duplicating one, so if you're going for a whistling arrow, that can be alright. It's not terrible, I'm not putting it in F, but I still think, like, given that you're putting one of your spaceship slots to this, not super impressed with it, and of course it's only one slot, so you only get to do this once a turn without some upgrades. Add some slots and I might change my mind. High energy cube. I like this one. I think it's very reliable, in the way that that swap device isn't. You always know what's going to come out of high energy cube, so I've been criticized for saying it's great in combos, and it combos easily, that it's more like good in all situations. You're right, it's actually something that's always pretty decent. You turn your 1s and your 2s into 3s when it's upgraded in 4s. Of course, the orange slot does disadvantage a bit, because if you don't have any orange, well, all you can do is put the same thing twice, which sometimes is good, right? If you have rubbing core, it can get it started. Machine gun, but of course if you have machine gun, you're kind of on your way to winning anyways, but it's a good friend of these types of units. Just at getting your numbers high and filling your orange slots. Energy Nexus. Energy Nexus is one of my favorite units. I think it's one of the combo starters of this. Its only disadvantage is that it loads white energies, but it loads 2-point or 3-point energy, so it can be good at triggering something like an overclock, and so on. Energy Nexus, giving these energies to all 4 units next to it, and one of the great things about it doesn't care what the energy is. If you add some slots to it, then you'll be able to load more energy to the nearby things. So of course, yeah, if you use it with Diffusion Aura, for example, it's a bit dependent on you degrading the slots of those. But if you can get there, it's really good. For a lot of other ones, like High Energy Cube, like Evolutionary Core, it's just godlike. This is always a favorite of mine. Diffusion Aura. Diffusion Aura can combo really well if you're going with a lot of attack units, since it gives 2 strength to each of them when you load an energy in it. So if you upgrade it, it gains a slot. The slot is orange, however. Goes really well if you have a lot of little energy and units that create those. But of course, there's not a lot of attack units that create energy, so you gotta find a balance. Still, I think, yeah, when you get there, it can do some huge numbers, especially paired with something like the Recipient, which doubles received strength. Something like a ignition device, of course. This is a big favorite. Putting energy into all your units can be really good. Single-use charger. I hate this thing. Gives you 1 energy only once, and it's at the start of the second turn. After that, it's over. Never helps you again. If you have the watch, it gets slightly better, but the watch is kind of, as far as common treasures go, it's one of the best in the game, the acceleration watch. 1-9 orange energy is, I mean, on its own it's good, but it's still, I don't like waiting for 1. I think waiting is weak in this game. For 2, it's over then, and there's not a lot of things, unless you have destruction. There's not a lot of things you can do with a junk unit in this game. So skip this one. Attenuation device. I like this one a lot. You put an energy in it and it creates same energy -1, but it gives 2 power to the unit behind. I think good in combo with some issues, because yeah, you are minusing your energy, and without something that really likes the strength bonus, like a recipient or having a bunch of phantoms to double it up, it's still only 2 strength, and you don't gain much from it unless you have some weird stuff related to the energy. The upgrade only changes the orange slot to a white one. Oh, I forgot to mention, single-use charger unupgraded. It's a white 9-point energy. Even worse. Attenuation device, yeah. Again, with machine gun, it's a big deal, but a lot of things are. Yeah, I think this is fine, but there's probably better you can get later on. Weak energy source. This is, I believe, our first initiate. No, it's our second initiate unit. Reminder, initiate is just you click on them when the cooldown is over. It doesn't affect. Cooldown 1 means you can use it every turn. There are some that get cooldown 0, which means you can click on them as much as you like. This one makes a white 1-point energy, becomes orange when upgraded. I think this is pretty versatile. The only problem is it is 1 point. I will put it more like this, more at the top, because of course if you have power, units that use power, they are pretty happy with this. But because it only generates 1 compared to Energy Nexus's, it turns 1 into 4, so that's a net gain of 3. It's not the best. It has to be 1, but at least it goes up to orange, so you can fill some difficult slots. Maybe put it in the high energy cube to get your 3 or 4 point. Yeah, it's fine, right? But there aren't a lot of things that give you more initiate besides the start of the battle one. It's not huge. Armor Smelter, it's kind of in the same boat. It's 1 cooldown, and I think that's its biggest weakness. You receive 2 or 1 damage and generate 1 energy. The problem is you don't know what energy is going to come out, so there's a bit of unreliability to it that make me feel like it's a niche combo use. Of course, you are the shielder. You have shield. You don't mind at all taking some damage from this, and down to 1, it's kind of meh. You barely notice it, but still, I hesitate. It can combo really well with Shield Burst Core, because when your shield points change, you gain double strength. So at least, I'm willing to think that it might be in here in C# combos, but with some issues. Little comment about the way I did the tiers, by the way. Sharp means good in combos, and flat means it's kind of general, because I think in a random game like this, you'll have a lot of that, right? Is it good, or is it good right now? Some of them, when you don't have the combo up yet, they're good no matter what. Some of them, you're kind of gambling if you're picking them up. I'm going rather fast because my previous video was an hour and a half, so I'm trying to do a faster version. Alright, next up, Growth Device. I hate this one. It turns all your white energies better by 1 or 2 point. Generally, you want to avoid white energy being that common in your hand. I'm not saying it's unusable. I'm not saying it's but you'll pretty much never have a white only hand. And even if you do, it's not that huge of a difference to take up 1 slot. Pulse Recharger, I think, is the same, but even worse somehow, because it's initiate 3. Creates 1 orange, 9-point energy. I'm willing to say it might be the absolute worst in this list, because at least the single-use charger, you get it second turn. Pulse Recharger, you absolutely need this to get it first turn. White 9-point, orange 9-point, they're the same otherwise. I don't know. I think they're junk. Compared to the Godlike Turn energy device, this one is one of our initiate with 0 cooldown, but it only has 3 ammo, 3 uses. These little yellow things will disappear from the unit. It's a pretty cool graphic detail. Generate 1 white energy whose point equals the current turn number. Upgraded, it becomes orange. So on turn 1, you can get 3 1 energy and 3 activations of initiate. So for anything that likes initiate, like the cheat button as well as the kinetic core, that's 3 uses immediately. Other big thing is that number can go up if you're wanting to play a longer game. Then on turn 2, each of these are worth 2, then 3, and so on. So it has a lot of versatility there. Of course, it does become junk once you've used all 3, but I feel like because of how strong it can be turn 1 and how it has the versatility of, well, if I don't need a turn 1, then it gets better every turn, this deserves a spot way up there. Take this, it's incredibly good. Power supply module. Power supply module is fine. It'll give you 3 or 4 power to the unit in front of it. Of course, this gets a lot better either if you're, you're using something that enjoys more power, like the Razor, the Battle Axe, or if your name is Jed, the Jed pilot, which doubles early power, turn 1 power. Otherwise, it's fine, right? It is a good way to get some free damage on your units. So I think in between this, right, it's both a good early pickup and good in combos, but a bit tough to combo. Surge device, very similar. The only difference is it's at the start of the 3rd turn and it's 1 less power, but it affects all of your units. This can go pretty wild, especially once again with the watch. I do think it has a lot of potential because it affects all of your units, right? But if you don't have anything to speed it up, or if you don't have a lot of power synergy, it's only fine, but it's still, survive to get there, and then, damn, you're strong suddenly. Amplification device, it's basically a mix of both, but a lot weaker. Only nearby attack units gain power. Upgraded, all attack units gain 1 power. It's only 1 power. It's better than nothing, but it's kind of... yeah, it's just 1 power. It won't last you the whole game. Number 3 device. Been yelled at about this one a bit because I said it was niche combo use. Fine, you win. Decent early pickup. My gripes with it, it is an overclock thing to generate 3-point energy. Even upgraded, all it does is take it from white to blue, sorry. It does mean that if you put in a number under 3, you get a 3 out of it, which isn't too bad. But you need to put in 4 to get 2 3s. I don't know. Not feeling it that much still. But yeah, I guess it's better than some of the other ones we've mentioned. Main ingredient and leftover pieces. Now this one is kind of a tri-power star as far as energy generation goes, but it does need its upgrade or any other way to get an extra slot. Because with just 2 slot, it feels kind of meh. Feels kind of weak. And ideally another thing to distribute energy to it. But, where did I place this again? I would say, yeah. I would say at the top of here, because I feel like once you get that tri-power stuff going, you have things that are putting energy in it. Getting 1 orange 9-point and 1 orange 1-point, and this is whether it's upgraded or not, so you can go ahead and give it slots some other ways. This can get to so much energy, and having the 9 is just very valuable. Postpone Protector, the start of the 2nd turn, increase the max shield points by 3 or 5 for the rest of the battle. Restore all shield points. Yeah, this can go really hard with a few combos, namely things like Impact Compressor and Shield Igniter. Otherwise, it's just defense. Yeah, combos, but some issues, I guess. I had put it in niche combo uses. I don't know, it's just these 2 items, and it's... Alright, I'll put it at the top of niche combo use, and that'll be that. I still don't see that much use to it unless you're Gin and getting like a huge number out of it. Because 3 and 5, I don't know. It's fine, but it's not great. Quad reverse core. If you have energy, and this means like the squares, not the numbers on them, greater than or equal to 4, temporarily gain double strength upgrade, adds a blue slot. I think this, to get there, is really hard and annoying, to where I feel like this has never been helpful to me as a pickup, especially since if you don't have that, well, look at that. It's a basic core. Wow. And if you upgrade it, it's worse than a basic core. So, yeah, junk. Unlike the extreme cohesion, so all loaded energy points are considered as the highest energy point loaded. So even at the start, you can make a 5 and a 1 worth as much as 2 5s and other units. I would put it at the top of good overall. Of course, doesn't combo much. I mean, yeah, if you have 9 generation stuff. I do think it tapers off a bit, especially if you don't upgrade it, because it's a bit dependent on the amount of slots and putting a bunch of junk energy in those slots, plus one good one. But it's a way for it to be used, and with things like Energy Nexus and Ignition Device, it does have a pretty good use there. Hexagram core, kind of similar. After loading an energy for each slot this unit has, gain 1 strength. This one's gets stronger for adding slots to it. The maximum is 6, though it's very rare you'll get there, but it's worth putting some screwdrivers into it. It's yeah, it's a very good above average early pickup. I would put it right behind Extreme Cohesion, with the possibility that it's better. Who knows though. High energy induction. When generating orange energy within a turn, gain 1 strength. So as far as orange energy goes, if it's unupgraded, it's just as good as a gathering core, making it not very worth it unupgraded. Upgraded, that number goes up to 2, which for math fans out there, it is double. I think because of that, I had put it over here the first time. I actually think it's a bit lower than that, thinking about it, because you do have to have that orange generation. So yeah, it's a good friend of high energy cube and leftover ingredients. But you got to get there. Turn energy device as well if it's upgraded. But it's a lot of free energy. It can be good if doubled, if cloned. But without that, once again, it is a basic core problem. So you got to be sure you have that generation and that it doesn't put you into too much trouble. Like if you meet the bosses that don't like it when you generate energy, like what are their names? The Toilet Lid and the other one, Cicada Wing. High Point Force Field. This one is very similar, but it's for attack units loading energy above 5 points. Well, at least 5 points or more. Gains 2 strength, gains 3 strength upgraded. It's a pretty solid one as well. I think even better because this is something you're going to be wanting to do. This is something, for example, with Extreme Cohesion goes well. With Chain Core, if you're lucky enough to see it, it's not in the encyclopedia, but we'll talk about it later. With Rubbing Core as well. Things like that, things that get a lot of big numbers easily in your attack units. This is a good friend of it for getting free strength. Of course, without it, it's kind of a basic core, but I feel like this one is more accessible to making it a little bigger than the high energy induction. Consecution. God, I love the name, I love the design, I love the idea of it, but 2 orange slots, and the upgrade only changes, an orange becomes a blue. If the energy to be loaded into this unit is the last one in hand, generate 1 energy. Best friends with Embers, which boosts the strength of the last energy put into an attack unit by 5. But otherwise, the problem is, if you don't have other slots in your other attack units, you roll a white, well, that's the end. You only get to use one of the 2 slots there. And even then, I said attack units, probably more support units, something to give it another color again. And it becomes kind of very... there's a lot of management. It can be good. It's the only attack unit, I think, that generates energy, so that's interesting for that. Otherwise, you know. But everything I said changes if you're the gold character, because that character only generates orange energy. This is his best friend. Phantom. Wait, did I place it? I did not place Consecution. So Consecution, pretty certain. Good in combos, but some issues. Phantom. Phantom, I want to love Phantom. Like, in theory, this is one of my favorite units because it has synergy written on it. It benefits from directional effects regardless of where it is. On paper, that means you absolutely need something like Energy Nexus, but it's not very good with it because it just loads it with 2 or 3 energy number. I guess the bigger ones are things like Power Supply Module. The real actual big combo for it is, where is it? The High Pressure Diverter, which gives a big amount of strength to the unit behind. To a lesser effect, the Arc Amplifier. Most of the other ones, I don't know. It's hard to combo well with Phantom. So as much as I like it on paper, I wish I could... the best I can give it is this. Good in combo, but some issues. Oh, Attenuation is a good friend of it, actually. Yeah, like this. This is how Phantom feels all the time. Sandwiched between these two, no matter where you put it. Alright, next up, Recipient. Recipient's a bit better, great in combos, but harder to combo. Because it gains double strength from anything that's not energy points you put in or from power. So it means it works really, really well with things like Energy Booster, but especially High Pressure Diverter, which gives you 8 strength to the unit behind. Upgraded just becomes easier. It's still overclock 5, it's still 8 strength. But if you can get these two running together, that's 16 really easily. But it still benefits from a lot of other things. Kinetic Transmitter. What else? Slot Pointer if you add slots to it. There's a lot of ways to make this work. A lot of treasures too, like Whistling Arrows one, the Magnifying Glass, the Automatic Module. There's all sorts of things to make this one happy, and they make it happy by double, so it's really worth it. I think this unit, great in combos, hard in combos. You know what? I'm almost tempted to put it at the bottom of this, because you're always happy to see this one. Kinetic Core. I haven't had much experience with this one, I regret to say, because I think you've seen there's some Initiate units I'm not super impressed with. Of course, I think it's not really useful to have any Initiate that have more than one cooldown to combo with this, but things like Armor Smelter probably fine, Weak Energy Source good, and of course the Turn Energy Device great. Kinetic Core, yeah, I'm gonna say gonna be generous to it. What had I put the first time? Can't find it, doesn't matter. I'm gonna put great in combos but harder combos, because you can theoretically get it to a very high number of power here, but you gotta get there. Great friends probably too with this, the Valve. Alright, where was I? The Reproducing Core. Reproducing Core is the only thing that propagates units for the Shielder. So in that, it gets a really unique position early on. It's the only way you can get to fill your ship when you don't have the 9-weight ship limit. It also has a really unique combo with the Destruction. Destruction, which upgraded, has 0 cooldown, so you can be spamming it, creating more and more reproducing cores, junking them, and then giving power to all the other units that survive. Yeah, so I think early on it's pretty good. The fact that it gets 1 or upgraded 2 power for all the units is also pretty interesting. Just having that little base extra power. Reproducing core, really good. Razor has the unique effect that power, which normally activates when you have at least 1 energy in it, this one activates for every energy in it. So Like I said earlier, combo super well. Power supply module, say you're getting 4 power on it, and you put 1 into it, you gain 5 as expected. If you put a second one, normally other units would get 6. This one would get 10. So it just keeps adding up. If you add more slots, if you add more power, just keeps doubling it. In a way, it's comparable yet different to double-edged battle axe, to where it will multiply its power. It just does it differently. It requires more energy for it, but it has a higher ceiling. Because of that, I would say great combos, but a little bit harder to combo. Once you get there, though, it can be a really valuable item. Triangular core. I almost feel like I was too generous for it. If it gets tri-power, it's 3 or 4 power. That is a pretty high number for an attack unit. It's only, I think I'll put it in combos. Yeah, no, I'll put it here, but at the bottom still. I think it's really hamstringed by its lack of 3 slots. But the 2 slots, I mean, once you get it started, yeah, 3 power, becoming 6 or 8 power. The third turn starts to be pretty big pretty fast, but you got to fill it up, so you got to have stuff to fill it up as well, just like you do with any tri-power. Shield induction, when the shield points reduce, gain 2 power. Kind of feel similarly about this one. Yes, if you have, you know, the armor smelter, anything to damage your shield. I think part of the problem of this one is it says reduce, that's the keyword. So you can't do something like Shield Burst Core, which is similar, but in my opinion a lot better, where you can heal your shield with the shield converter or postpone protector, or even just the little bot, the emergency drone. If you have emergency drone in that next one, you know, it's pretty much always on. Shield induction, it's only the amount of times you're willing to damage it, and big problem that I mentioned earlier about the armor smelter, it's only once per turn, even upgraded. So in the upgrade, all it changes is a white slot, which is better than the Shield Burst Core's upgrade, but overall I prefer the Shield Burst Core's effect. So yeah, shield induction goes there. Meanwhile, Shield Burst Core, already pretty much talked about it. I think it's more here because the double strength can be pretty massive, and if you put it with its good friend Shield Igniter, well, then you're doubling an already possibly pretty beefy number. Upgrade device, this was one I forgot to add in the tier list. Happy to say it's back, so I can safely put it at the bottom of F. Upgrading your units, it's only useful if your units are not upgraded and the unit upgrades are really good. Like, wow, upgrading my basic core, no one cares. A lot of them, I think, don't gain that much from being upgraded, considering it's, you know, it takes 1 weight, it takes a slot from your precious slots, and the only thing that changes if it's upgraded is that they don't need to be nearby. Often that's not even a difference. There's very few situations where you'd want to upgrade 4, or more than 4, I mean, and then the upgrade makes all the difference. Skip this one, I think it's trash. External fuel tank, you gain 2 or 3 fuel. Probably the best friend for the propulsion core, since fuel you only get 1 per fight. If you spend any, you gain an extra one. This one is, yeah, you gain, I believe, max fuel that you can use as you want. The only thing, it takes a slot. Personally, I haven't found a lot of use from it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can see it go really strong with fuel energy source, with fuel amplifier, or just with a character like Mochi that likes to move around a lot. And just in general, movement is good in this game. Fine. You know what? Here. It's buffed. Fuel's always good. It's even, yeah, decent early pickup because it's good with or without the combos. Kinetic transmitter. Alright, this one I feel more safe. Actually, I had put this here. Kinetic transmitter gives you 3 or 4 strength to the attack unit behind when things are initiated. Yeah, no, this is pretty fair actually. The number can go high a lot depending on what your initiate units are, but you gotta have them. Of course, if you have the recoil valve, you can turn it into some kind of monster, and if you have some phantom laying around, then they can be fast friends. But you gotta have those, and if you don't, it's just kind of junk. If you just have one, it probably won't perform very much. Fuel energy source. This one I really like. I think it's a very interesting alternate use of fuel. It always has one cooldown, but it's blue or orange 9-point energy. I think the reliability of this one makes it a lot better, right? Like I said, you'll pretty much always have at least one fuel per fight, if not a lot more. So yeah, I would say good overall. Not much of a combo tool. It's just it's a 9-point energy, but it costs your fuel. Energy booster gives you 2 or 3 extra strength per unit's loading energy in this lane. Secretly good with Kunga, but that's kind of a only for one character. For other characters, it's still fine, especially once again with the recipient, the best friend of strength bonuses. I think early on it can really give you a lot of little extra oomph. Later on, I was putting this in decent early pickup. I'd even be. I think I can safely buff this just because if you get something where you get a lot of energy in it, then every time it's 3 more. It can be pretty great this way. I see I've done this one out of order, eh? Breakthrough. Breakthrough degrades the highest graded color slots of all units or all of the slots. Yeah, I could see this be really good in like some occasional situations. The problem is it's still you're taking one thing to do that. So by extension, you gotta be sure that what you're gaining from it that's not like another attack unit is better, right? And that's where the cost of opportunity you lose from putting this in, I find it difficult to justify. But I could see it with if you have a lot of, you know, colorful unit slots and you have an energy nexus set up, you want them to be filled by it. Yeah, I guess this could be good. Quarter slotted interface. Nearby attack units gain an orange or blue slot. This one I feel kind of similarly about it. They need to be nearby. It is a blue or orange slot, so no possibility of white. Still with something like hexagram, extreme cohesion, tri-power units, and so on. Yeah, you can see the synergy there for sure. Bleaching device turns your orange and blue energy into white energies and raises their number by either 2 or 1. Upgraded gets the rare 0 cooldown, so you could do it multiple times in a turn, which could give you a weird possibility of, really spamming initiate units, synergies like the kinetic core, and for that I'm going to place it a bit higher than the growth device. I still think this isn't very good. Usually turning your energy white is pretty bad, but I can see the combo potential here that I didn't with the other one with growth. Fuel amplifier. Pay 1 fuel, gain 1 power to all of your units. Upgrade it, exact same thing, but cooldown 0. Yeah, I like this one. I want to say good overall. Maybe, yeah, pretty good in most situations. Buffing it from my initial idea. You'll always have at least 1 fuel. Power is good, and since it's at initiate 0, if you have anything that gives you more fuel, you can expect to spam this to combo with the initiate things. Ignition device. This is one of my favorite. I will say there are situations where it's not that good, where you have, for example, mostly overclock. Given that it only puts 1 point energy, whether it's blue or orange, if it's upgraded, but it does trigger overclock just by filling it. It's pretty easy number, 3, and of course it can go lower if you have the mechanical valve. Putting in more slots to this allows you to really fill out your entire ship pretty easily. Great friend of tri-power units, given that it's always orange, with things like main ingredients, with things like arc amplifier, even quadrangle if you're that kind of person. Great friend to diffusion aura as well. This one, pretty much always happy to see it. High pressure diverter. This one, yeah, I think it's one of the better overclocks as well. It does kind of need, either you having high numbers, because there's situations where putting energy in this isn't as good as putting it in the actual attack unit. But it changes as soon as you have either something that benefits having overclock. If you have something that has double strength, then it's probably better. If you have recipient, of course, or if you have at least one phantom, then oh yeah, this goes hard. High pressure energizer. Yeah, it's fine. If you overclock 6, generate a blue 9-point energy or an orange 9-point energy. Yeah, it can definitely trigger a lot of energy generation, energy, maybe in the higher of C sharp. Best friend with rubbing core for sure. So over there, almost makes me, almost maybe more tempted to put it here, because generating orange 9s is pretty good, and it doesn't come with the quote-unquote disadvantage. This one generates a 9 and a 1, so if you have rubbing core, well then it gets both. You don't want that 1 in there. This one only generates 9. You do need to upgrade it, but once you get there, it's going to be a good friend to a lot of your units. Scheme module, I forgot it in my initial tier list thing. I think this is pretty good. Really easy to get your energy stuff going. You just put it in there. It overclocks. If you are able to add slots to it, it can really multiply pretty quickly. Of course, you do have to wait the second turn, but the cost for it is minor, right? You have to put an energy that's 3. Of course, it does have to be colorful, but that's kind of the same problem with quadrangle. I've put this one pretty low, personally. I think it's because unless you add a slot, it won't do shit in the first turn. Maybe a bit hypercritical of me to put it so much below scheme module, and you know what? I agree. I guess I just hate that no matter what, well, not no matter what, but unless you add a slot to this, it's kind of dead in your first turn. It won't even trigger the little overclock. And it's pricier, right? You need to put, if you want to have something on the third turn, then you need to put 2 in the first turn at least. And if you want to have anything, well, you're kind of putting the same energy in this than you are. I don't know, I feel like it has a bigger investment cost for kind of the same return. But you know what? I'm willing to be wrong on this one. Maybe quadrangle goes hard easier than I think. Arc amplifier. Yeah, it suffers from a similar problem. It does get a third slot when you upgrade it, but because it doesn't give strength, it only gives power. It does mean you also have to activate that power on the unit in front. Sometimes this can be really easy, especially if you have evil projection or smart assistant. Sometimes it's not. So you have to get there. It has high potential with battle axe, with razor, with phantom, etc. But you have to combo it. Willing to put it in C sharp if people say no, arc amplifier, sleeping on it. So far, not super impressed. Everything I said about tri-power, if you have an energy supply station, this is one of the better tri-power combo things. It will help with your energy situation with it. Maybe even, put it this high, buffing it from my initial... Because as soon as you get tri-power, this thing can go pretty hard, especially upgraded. Guaranteed orange energy is neat. Slot pointer gives all of your units 2 strength for each slot that they have. The only upgrade difference is the orange slot becomes white. This is a very good tri-power unit. Combos pretty decently with a lot of things. Pretty easy to fill since it does have the triple slot, 2 of them being white unupgraded, all of them being white upgraded. I think this is, if you're going for a lot of different units, especially ones with a lot of slots or ones that are called recipient, this is pretty great. Shield converter. I mean, it's the only thing in the game that allows you to constantly survive, so it does deserve a little mention for that. It works very well with Shield Burst Core. We'll put them next to each other. It works amazing with Shield Igniter. So yeah, besides that, I don't think it's that good, but it's, yeah, it works with anything where you get damage. You could even, you know, make the argument for Armor Smelter, of course, for Impact Compressor. So yeah, this one, it's pretty good. White Reaction Crystal, it's kind of the mirror version of the high energy induction, but instead of generation, it's when you fill white slots. I think this one, very easy to get strength from it, so it has to be nearby a white slot, so it depends a bit on how you position it, but it's 2 or 3 strength. You'll be filling white slots no matter what. Like, I doubt you won't have any at all. It's pretty simple to get this. It doesn't matter the color of the energy you put it in, it's just the color of the slots. Rubbing Core, I think Rubbing Core is godlike. It's very easy to just get high number orange energy, put it in the Gentle Tap device, 6 and 7 on turn 1, or even more if you have things, as we mentioned, the high pressure energizer, or what's the other one? The main ingredients. Anything that generates high numbers like that. If you're lucky enough to get our good friend the counter as well. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to generate high energy. This one will just get it for free. So it's a very good free energy loader. Orange Star Diamond. Meh. All it does is gain extra strength. It doesn't give it to anything, so there are very few, if any, things that care about the amount of strength another unit gets. Even upgraded to orange slots, which is thematic, right? It's the Orange Star Diamond. But a lot of things give you kind of the equivalent to that. And the dual cannons kind of do that as well. You can gain double strength in a lot of other ways. There's some like the Overheat Core where, oh, if you put a 9, you get 10, which is more than 9. And if you put upgraded, it's 14. Yeah, so I feel like overall this one, you need the orange energies, and you need the orange energies to be huge, which, yes, there's ways to get orange 9 energies, but as I said earlier, often these 9 energies are just as good or better on some of these other units. Like dual cannons, I think dual cannons is you pick it up. You see this, you pick it up, it does direct damage for any strength that you gain in it. I've seen strange interactions between it and power, especially if you have Smart Assistant, I think, behaves weirdly with it, to where I think it doesn't reset its strength between turns, and so it won't apply it, something like that. I could be wrong. Of course, it doesn't help you win lanes, but oftentimes you'll end up winning in between them if you have a dual cannon or 2. Especially if you have things like high pressure diverter, slot pointer, anything that gives your units a lot of strength. This is great. This will deal a ton of direct damage to opponents. Double-edged battle axe. Power's not that easy to come by in Shielder. So unless you go like for a big arc amplifier thing and things like that, or if you're Jed, of course you pick this up, because Jed will double, you know, like say you have a power supply module, it gives it 4, so the axe doubles it to 8. Jed says, no, I'm doubling you axe, so I'm giving you 8. The axe says 8, then I double this to 16, then, you know, you get 24 from 4. So, yeah, the number can go kind of crazy, but saying that Jed is OP is kind of, yeah, we know. On its own, it's fine, right? You can get a huge power thing going. Destruction is a good friend of it as well. But you gotta get those. There's not that many power things. But if you have them, yeah, double-edged battle axe, especially since they buffed it. It used to have only orange slots, I think. Now it's 1 or 2 white slots. Definitely worth it. Shared frequency core, overclock gains 2. Tri-power gains 4. Strength whenever another unit does it, I mean. 3 and 6 when upgraded. This is a must-have if you have either or both of these. And I think, yeah, very top of grade in combos, I guess, because it could be that you don't have them. But the fact that it combos so easily off a lot of things, and they're huge numbers, right? 3 strength per overclock, so that means 6 if you use the leap core, and tri-power being 6 strength. You can go up a lot if you get 2 of these in a tri-power build. Yeah, you're gonna be getting big numbers. Overheat core, mentioned a bit earlier. This is kind of, I would say it's kind of weak unless you get those 9s. Once you get those 9s, it's one of the best units you can get. Those numbers are huge, right? 10 bonus strength, pretty good. 14 bonus strength. Damn, that's a giant number. And of course it has 2 slots. You can put 2 in if you somehow manage to get your hands on 2 9s. This becomes big, and you get to see the little smoke coming out of that chimney. Yeah, overheat core, you gotta get there, but once you get there, it's a beast. Recall valve. One of the only things with 2 keywords like that, this one gets both initiate and overclock. Every turn you can give it 2 strength, and if you overclock it by 3, the cooldown gets removed, so you can press the valve again, the little lever. Yeah, a bit disadvantaged by the fact it doesn't get a white slot unless it's upgraded, but it does have 2 of those slots. And no matter what, you get at least 2 strength from it. I would say, what did I put earlier? Grading combos, easy combos. I was pretty generous to it. Maybe more at the top here, because sometimes I feel like it's not quite pulling its weight. Sometimes it goes incredibly hard. The nuclear accumulator, tri-power, gain double strength, 1 white, 1 orange, or 2 whites when upgraded. I wish I could like this more. Unfortunately, yes, as most 2-slot tri-power units, I feel like it is losing a lot from that, not being able to easily set it up first turn unless you have external support. However, it's a pretty easily accessible double strength. Can go pretty hard with anything that boosts it. Double strength's always good. Doesn't stack though, so putting a bunch of tri-power stuff on it won't change anything. Still, yeah, it's fine. It's pretty good. Contract core, controversial one, but I haven't changed my mind. I think this one is crap. So tri-power for the rest of this turn. All energy points loaded into this unit will be considered as 9. This means if you put 3 1s in this, it will activate its tri-power effect and then do nothing, because it's only counts the energies put in after. So on your first turn, unless you added slots to it, it won't do anything. And if you did add slots to it, well, it will add 1 9. You'll notice that it's basically a weaker extreme cohesion, except that it starts with 3 slots. Extreme cohesion does not. But yeah, you need to support this thing so hard, which, yeah, if you have starting pistol and watch, I guess it's fine, because now you can kind of do a bit more. But even then, you have to limit yourself, right? Because you always have to activate the tri-power, then the numbers become 9. And them being 9 is like, it's good, but there's more intense stuff in the game, right? There's things where it's like, oh, double strength, whoa. This, it's just, yeah, you put in 9. There's not that much that enjoys you putting 9s besides certain, like, edge treasures like the overclock fan. So I don't know. Contract Core, I still think it's a skip, especially given that it's a legendary, right? If you get legendary picks and this shows up, it's like, really? Energy Amplifier. Yeah, this one's always good. It doubles the energy points of whatever you put in it. Pretty good in most situations. Maybe even as far as the bottom of S tier. When upgraded, it adds a slot too, so you can upgrade the things to two different energies, double of them. It's great. Of course, 5 becomes 9. That's the limit, but that's still pretty good. Yeah, pick it up. Simulator. I want to like Simulator more. I think there's not enough cases where the fact that it copies a support unit and puts 2 slots is really useful. First of all, often you just want one of that support unit. It's pretty rare that you want 2 of them. So maybe for something like Diffusion Aura, but even then, and for things like High Pressure Diverter, well, it's useless, right? Because the simulator has to be behind it. Oh, but the High Pressure Diverter only affects the thing behind it. So unless you have a Phantom thing going, it's kind of useless. Same for Arc Amplifier, right? You put it behind the Arc Amplifier. Well, what's in front of the simulator is the Arc Amplifier. So it loses from these types of support units that are left-right directional and, well, front-back. For a lot of the other ones, it's like, I don't need 2 of these. One's fine. One's fine. And also, it takes 2 slots in the lane, so often you want to have, not always, but it's nice to have 2 attack units in each lane, so you gotta sacrifice that as well. And for that, I can't see myself putting it above this. External slot. External slot gives the unit in front 1 blue and orange, or if upgraded, blue and white slots. Yeah, I could see this do some cool combo stuff. Giving a lot of slots to things like Ignition Device. Maybe not Energy Nexus, because then you sacrifice. Maybe. Rubbing Core would be a good example as well. Energy Amplifier. There's more stuff to be done there. Unfortunately, Phantom doesn't gain that much from having more slots, so it's not the best directional combo there. Still, I don't know. Yeah, I can see it being pretty good compared to some other stuff. Multi-cleaver, ooh, I got some flack for this one too, but I think it's only, yeah, at best over here, and I maintain my belief because, yes, for some tri-power things, like, of course, it's a good friend of main ingredient and leftover pieces. Where did I put that thing? Main ingredient. Somewhere. It's a good friend of it for sure because you can triple when it's upgraded a white energy. So if you have a junk white energy to put in there, it's pretty good. It's important to say that the effect carries over to if you have Buddy or if you have Phantoms. That doesn't mean the energy will duplicate. So if you put this in front of no, seriously, where did I put main ingredients? Here. Okay, you put did I buff main ingredient? Oh, it goes here. You put it here, and you triple the energy. Well, Phantom won't get those energies, right? It'll only get them if you put a white in Phantom. Anyways, yeah, I still think it's pretty decent, but it does take the slot. It's not that many get really happy from doubling the energy, besides Tri-Power, or if you turn out to have like a white 9, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's fine, but it could be better, and because it only affects 1 unit, right? Embark oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Where are we at? We're at single-use electric arc. As I said earlier, things that destroy themselves aren't super good on Shielder. It's a lot different in Spacewalker. This has some niche use, again, with double-edged battle axe, where the double gets doubled. And, of course, with Razor, who uses power in an interesting way. But it only affects 1 unit, asterisk, unless you have Phantom or or buddy, and it's a slot that you're gonna destroy. Upgraded just makes it easier to activate, but it's kind of, once that's done, then it's done, right? So you better have a big number to upgrade there, and it better be there early because you don't want to be biding your time too much, right? You don't want to be sitting on it waiting for the power to go up, because then it's just wasting space. Destruction mentioned earlier. I think this kind of, I don't know. It's an exciting unit to get for sure, right? It's kind of a wild concept of the only thing that breaks your units in Shielder, that breaks your own units. But if you can get those combos going, this thing doesn't mess around, gives you a big amount of power on your stuff. Of course, with things like Turn Energy Device even can make this a bit more worth it. And if you get the Reproducing Core build going with Destruction, then prepare to see those numbers go pretty nuts. Overclock Driver, yeah, it's all right. You need a lot of overclock units for this to matter. Once you do, though, yeah, it can go pretty wild. Leap Core gets the double effect from it. Shared Frequency Core becomes the happiest alive. Ignition Device gets the extra pops. Things like that. So yeah, you gotta get to those combos, but if you do, it can be pretty exciting. And the last of the normally obtainable ones, Shield Igniter, destroys your shield and gives the strength to the unit behind equal to that number. If you upgraded, the initiate cooldown becomes 0, so it becomes a Giga synergy with the shield recharging unit. The shield converter. Even without, I think it's still pretty damn good. Because it can give you, it's 8 even if you don't have any shield upgrades. If you get any shield upgrades, it can be pretty nuts. And if you get anything that enjoys that strength, especially the our good combo friend, the recipient, yeah, you can get such huge numbers from it. So that's it for those that are displayed in the encyclopedia. There's actually a few neutral units. There's some that I forgot the name, so I couldn't get the picture of them, but they're the Junk Tri-Power and the Junk Overclock Core. I would put these in F or, D. I mean, they're better than basic cores, right? But you won't be copying them because they're basically a lesser version, I think, of the Beam Core is the Tri-Power one, and of the Leap Core for the Overclock one. They're just weaker versions of things that exist. So, yes, I'll mention them in passing, but I don't think they're very good. Embark Power is fine. Of course, it means you gotta hold on to basic core while you have it. I would say more. Yeah, I guess that's what they're designed for. Embark Power higher. If you're Jed, well, yeah, what I said earlier. If you're Jed, everything's good. But yeah, it is better if you're Jed, or if you're Kungo with the special treasure that'll make you keep basic core and paracore. If you somehow decide to get multiple paracores as well, I guess it's fine. Embark Energy, well, it's basically a single-use charger, but that gives you the energy on turn 1. I think it's 6 and 7. Just because you get it on turn 1, I'm willing to put it a bit higher because I value that a lot. But yeah, you'll change it for something better for energy generation. In the last one, Chain Core, I think we're always happy when we see that little event. It's also really cheap to get. You always get 2, and if you get the possibility of more, the more you have, the better it gets. Anything that generates high numbers will love the presence of Chain Core, and so on. So yeah, pretty standard, great thing to have. We don't see it because I used the Discord's thing to get the picture, but I think the default slots are blue and orange. Not the best, but you get ways to upgrade it. Might be a white one. I feel like there might be a white one, but whatever. Yeah, chain core, always happy to see it. So that's it. I think I already took a lot of time here, but a bit less than last time. I might split this into 2 videos to make it a bit more watchable. Hope you enjoyed Nerd talking about 80 little spaceship pieces. And yeah, I'll probably make one for the spacewalker soon. See you, nerds.